Ah yes, who could have guessed that the chapter Port Warren would take place in none other than Port Warren? I am completely surprised by this. And now the Arcanian League's actually in Arcania. You'll pay dearly in taxes. Certainly nothing bad could happen here. Can you really be surprised at this point? I really don't think it'd be that harsh an awakening. We get attacked all the time. Right, so let's take a look at this here map. Got a lot of enemies over here, a lot of enemies over there, but a lot of ground to cover as well. And, we also have a new unit over here. We'll be getting him later. You'll want to bring Seda for him. And we have the boss all on his lonesome all the way over here. And he's only a normal knight rather than a general, which kinda seems like a dumb idea. And hey, what do you know? We're joined by Caesar! I'm sorry, I can't not say Caesar like that. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure has ruined the name Caesar for me forever. Now if I ever read or watch Julius Caesar, and he gets stabbed to death, I'm just going to shout, Caesar! Because why not? Caesar and Rad are both characters that aren't quite as good as characters we've gotten before. Caesar here is at least close to Ogma, though none of his growth rates are actually better than Ogma's, with the exception of his speed. Apparently Caesar is actually pretty good if you reclass him, but I wouldn't know much about that. Rad, on the other hand, isn't quite as good as Navarre, but unfortunately, for the most part, he is better than Athena, who we got, well, maybe got recently, with the exception of her skill and speed being better than his, and given that's what Myrmidons are supposed to have, well, at least she has one advantage, but for the most part, Rad is kind of an in-between those two characters. Well, I don't know why they went back to town if they want to fight with us, but on the other hand, I am just going to have them check out all the stores here. You do, by the way, if I haven't mentioned it before, you always want to buy a rapier or a wing spear if you see it in a shop, because, as you might have noticed, they do disappear if you buy one of them. There's usually only a stock of one of those things, which is why it's not a bad idea to pick them up, because they're very good weapons and they're very rare, and they make Marth and Seda a lot better than they already are. Now, while it might look like there are a lot of units up there, it's really not too bad just yet. In fact, if anything, this chapter is actually a bit sparse, kind of like the previous chapter. There might be quite a few enemies now, but it doesn't really seem like it's oversaturated the area or anything like that. So really, this isn't too bad. Of course, we do have a lot of enemies to kill at a time, so while it might not seem like there are that many enemies for the overall amount of land, they do come out at you at once, and they are pretty aggressive. Not all of them, though. It's a bit weird. Some of them are very aggressive, others do wait, which is kind of the saving grace here. Because if they didn't slow down a bit, well, we'd be in a bit of trouble. Also, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's our first arena down there, isn't it? I can't think of any other arenas, but if you go to an arena, you can actually fight a guy for a price. Basically, you pay a bit of money, and it's basically a one-on-one fight, and you just keep attacking until you or the opponent dies. You do want to be careful with this, of course, because, well, death is death. Even if you die in the arena, that does mean that character is dead for good. They don't make an exception for arenas. Still, though, it can be used to get quite a bit of experience, and back in the earlier Fire Emblem games, this and boss abuse, those were pretty much the only grinding methods. Arena abuse is a little more tolerable, but it's still not really necessary by any means, so don't feel like you have to go to an arena or anything. It's really just for grinding purposes. I'm not going to be using them, though. Alright, why don't we show off Bantu's power? Yep, that went over pretty well. So yeah, because of that Dragon Stone, Bantu can be pretty useful for a while. I'm probably going to ditch him after this chapter, maybe a few chapters later, but just because I'm not going to be using him in the long run, and really I should just be strengthening my own team, but I did want to show him off, and this chapter does have quite a few units as it is, so figured it wouldn't be bad to have an extra dragon help out. Yep, and just like the last chapter, there are a lot of reinforcement units this time around. So it's kind of a similar situation to the previous chapter. We're going to want to block those off as soon as we possibly can. Otherwise, they're just going to keep sending enemies after us, and we don't want that. Especially in the area to the left, just because those guys, those fortresses spawn cavaliers. We want those cavaliers out of the way. Alright, let's talk to Roger. Archer behind him is just staring at him by this point. It's been a while since we got Drog, but if you'll remember, he wasn't exactly a standard knight. Roger, on the other hand, is. He's got high HP and some decent defense, and actually some pretty good strength as well. Now, that defense growth might not look the best, but do remember, his starting growth of 13 defense is actually really good, so even if the RNG isn't on your side, at the very least his base stats are. As the internet would say, he was played like a damn fiddle. Ha ha ha, that is a reference. I am hilarious. Alright, so Roger's gonna be here for the time being. He'll be useful for blocking fortresses, but unfortunately at the moment, can't really maneuver him around these mountains. It's a bit troublesome. And of course, he's too slow to actually double, so... Good enough. Good enough. I'm not gonna be using him permanently. I mean, that should be obvious. I've mentioned before, I don't really like knights, so... Sorry, Roger, but you're just gonna have to sit around. Gonna bench ya. It's a real shame. Seda just comes out of nowhere and talks to him, and she's all nice and stuff, and then I just set him in the back. Doesn't get to do anything. I betrayed my country for this? Alright, well, let's take care of these guys. I want to put Hardin a little closer to the other dudes and see if I can lure them out. These units should be tough enough where they won't really take much damage from any attacks. What did I get? Not bad, not bad. Okay, yeah, that'll draw them out, so that's good. I also want Caesar and Rad a bit further ahead. I hope I can get them there in time, because while I'm not going to be using them, they would be pretty useful to... Oh, damn it. They would be pretty useful to stop the fortress's reinforcements. They have that much at least. Right, so I definitely say that this is probably the slightly more difficult section to take care of, just because over there you have knights, and therefore they don't really move around too much, and they have a bunch of weaknesses. Here we have cavaliers and a bunch of horsemen, not bow knights, horsemen. And now they're gonna rush us all at once. Oof. And that's bad news for Seda. I want to take care of these guys as quickly as possible. This is also probably a fairly bad idea, because now I'm kind of dedicated to finishing this as soon as possible. Otherwise, well, I'm going to get bowed to death. Yeah, it's not bad. Alright. And of course, I'm kind of blocking myself at this point. This really is not a good formation, and I wasted Board's turn. That is not good at all. So now I have to kill these guys in one go. See, this is why you have to be careful, and also this is why you never trust hand axes. So priority should always go to the horsemen. Oh, I guess it's not as bad as I thought. I can just walk on this mountain right here. Okay, so I have a little more space to move around than I thought I did. Unlike the previous chapter, though, it's not really the reinforcements you have to worry about here, because they're kind of negligible. It's just the first wave that's a problem. Whereas it was the fact that the guys in the previous chapter respawned so much, that's what kind of made it problematic, and wow. Good going, Caster. You're really, really showing your worth here. Right, so oh, alright, what did Julian get? Not bad at all. See, he's got some pretty good stats. Or growths, really. Oh yeah, and Roger can of course talk to Marth, but now's not really a good time. I gotta take care of this guy first. That was probably a dumb idea. Thankfully he didn't do much damage, but why would I put myself in a position where he could easily counter me? Not my best idea, but eh. I am so indecisive right now. Well, I hope this works. And of course it doesn't. See, that's why I'm indecisive. I never get a crit when I need it. Well, this seems like a terrible time. Why don't we have a conversation with Marth? Da 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 da. Okay, that's also a pretty good line. Oh, goodness. Alright, well, anyway, now that that important conversation is done and over with, you can continue on taking care of these guys. Alright, of course, I guess the other problem is getting over to the fortresses, because they are a ways away, but I don't really want to place my cavaliers on the fortresses. I mean, I will use any other unit to stop reinforcements, but the cavaliers are particularly useful here. As I said before, if you're not planning on using any of the new units you got in this chapter, then just use them to stop reinforcements. Actually, Roger is perfect for that. Since it is pretty difficult for him to reach the boss in a timely manner, you might as well just send him to a fortress so he can stand on top of it and stop enemies from coming out. And 25% crit chance, and he still doesn't do it. I swear, Navarre, sometimes. At least he didn't get a pointless critical right there. That would have been the best and worst thing if he had just finally managed to get that. Alright, well, I might as well try and stop the reinforcements as fast as I can, just because I don't want them coming after me. I do, however, want to draw the knights out, but that'll be pretty easy. As I said before, knights are easy to take care of. I mean, to be completely fair, though, all I really need to reach the fortress is, Board and Marth. Everyone else, even the Cavaliers, it's not really the biggest deal if you lose them, though. Of course, it is also pretty useful to send them, at least to the second set of fortresses, because again, movement helps a lot. Thank you, Hardin, that was actually very useful. But, oh wow, holy shit, Seda, that was actually really useful. Oh man, Hardin and Seda, you two guys are great. But anyway, as I was saying, it was because of Cain that I was able to reach that spot in time and prevent the reinforcements from coming in so quickly, and, well, I was able to take care of those reinforcements pretty well, I'd say. Oh, jeez! See, Navarre, that's the kind of thing you should be doing. Why aren't you doing that? I'm just getting, like, criticals left and right, and then there's just Navarre there with his killing edge, and he's not doing a thing. It's kind of embarrassing, really. Oh, and don't worry too much. I'm sure you all noticed that I did miss a house. But don't worry, fear not, I will be going to that house. Don't worry, I just need to take care of these guys, and then I'll send Seda their way. Ah, no critical. I was hoping, getting a whole lot of those things. And, yeah, this is very easy to take care of, but perhaps you'd consider maybe giving a little bit of experience to maybe some of these guys? Possibly. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Now you're just gonna go right for the guy with the hammer? Okay. That is the dumbest possible thing you could do. See, Ogma, that's a better idea. You know, go right for Ogma, give me some experience, or let someone else have the experience, because, quite frankly, I get plenty of it. Plenty of that with Board. He is kind of a monster right now, actually. Right, so that's well taken care of. See, what did I tell you? This isn't too bad at all. Definitely a lot less tricky than the previous chapter, I'd say. Could do better. Alright, anyway. Wow, really, Roger? Way to make some great first impressions. Oh, well. I guess you'll just stay there on that fortress and just sit there. That is a pretty good thing you can do, because apparently you're not doing damage, and if you're not doing damage to a knight, you're not going to damage the boss. Sorry, Bantu, I know you can power up and turn into a dragon and all, and don't get me wrong, that's cool, but at the same time, I don't need you that much. That is, unfortunately, the last we're probably going to see of Bond 2 for a while, because I'm just going to put him in the reserve, so the last thing we'll see of him for a while is just him sitting on that fortress right there, just all lonely. Oh yeah, and of course the other thing that makes this pretty easy is the fact that there are only 2 fortresses up here. That definitely makes things more simple. We've only got 2 fortresses, and they spawn units that are much, much slower, so we don't have to worry about that too much. Alright, well, there are no more reinforcements. So the boss is just standing there alone, and there's not much of a threat he can really provide in any capacity. We are going to wipe the floor with him, especially since he is just a normal cavalier. Or, normal cavalier? Just a normal knight. Gee, I wonder why. Maybe it is blackmail or something. Anyway, it's kind of weird that we get that conversation there, because that was relevant in the last chapter, and it's not going to be relevant again for at least a little while longer, so I don't know why they gave us that information here. I feel so sorry for the dude. He's just sitting there, watching us approach, ever so slowly, and there's nothing he can do about it. And now we're just surrounding him. We are circling him like a shark, or like an 80s street gang. Let's all dress up like greasers and snap our fingers. That is what the Altian army needs, or Arcanian League, rather. Just need to snap our fingers and choreograph, dance. That'll also be important. We need to approach him like that. Oh yeah, and I kind of feel really sorry for him, because he's one of the few bosses that in the end is actually like, oh shit, I'm going to fucking die. Usually they're like, oh, you can't beat me even if you beat all of my minions, or, well, you might have beaten me, but, eat a dick, that's what I think. This guy, though, he knows he's screwed, which I appreciate. Don't get me wrong, I totally appreciate the fact that you understand that I'm about to poke you with this rapier and that it's going to hurt, and then I'm going to smash your armor with a hammer, and that's going to hurt even more. But, ooh, that would kill him, and, you know what? Seda needs a bit of experience, so let's give it to her. Oof. That Silver Lance, though, he might know it's the end, but yeah, he's rather tough. That Silver Lance definitely packs a punch, so while he's not attacking anyone from a distance, you really don't want to go more than 1 round with the dude unless you've got a healer backing you up and you're only using 1 unit, that sort of thing. But that takes care of that. I think I'll spend 1 more round healing up, just to give a bit more of experience to Lena, because healers generally need all the experience they can get because healing is all they can do. Alright, well, actually I probably could have mended there and gotten a bit more of experience, but whatever. Let's finish this up. It is? It's so dangerous with all the no units around. Okay, there's a Monaquette. That sounds dangerous. Are there guys behind us? Is that it? I don't see anybody. There's really nobody there.